Hi everyone, and welcome back to another exciting week of theory exploration. This week shouldn't be too long of a discussion as we're really only focusing on two different items this week. The first is Becker's labeling theory, and the second is Braithwaite's reintegrative shaming theory. Beginning with labeling theory, we're seeing crime really become a product of the label or the stigma that is placed upon a person either informally or formally. Reintegrative shaming theory suggests that the opposite needs to occur in order to end the crime cycle and for the offender to reform his or her ways. When we're talking about labeling theory, we're really talking about a theory of identity. Typically, we define who we are as individuals, but we are also defined by outsiders who may only see us as unidimensional figures. Do we keep our own identities, or do we adapt those that are placed upon us by others? For instance, if I was arrested for theft because I was trying to get diapers for my baby and I couldn't afford them, then I may see myself as a good mother who will do absolutely anything to provide for my child. But what even if I can't do it through legitimate means? However, the store, the police, the judge, they all may see me as a thief who stole from the store, and that's the label that they're going to place upon me. So which label am I going to accept? Well, typically it's the one that I most identify with. That will in turn help influence my behaviors. So we have a theory of self-identification and societal identification. Becker's theory really speaks about things in terms of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I may not see myself as a thief, but if you call me a thief for long enough, eventually I may believe that to be true, and I may believe that that's the only thing that I'm good for. Then I steal something, and you say, you see, I knew she was a thief, but this reaffirms the identity to others, and you've made it come true. The label sticks and the stigmatization continues. This is really a stereotyping exercise, but one that has serious policy implications, especially for the formal labeling process. Becker breaks the theory down into two types of labeling: informal and formal labeling. Informal labeling takes place with community members, friends, and family members who may be witness to your behavior, but they don't have any legal power to actually sanction you in the same way that the criminal justice system does. But think about the power and the pressure that your family members and friends have over you, right? Maybe you knew somebody who had just the most horrible parents growing up, right? We all know that set of parents that they just call their kids stupid and fat and ugly, or whatever word you want to place upon them, right? My whole life I heard somebody call me this. And so maybe if I hear it enough times, it has to be true, right? Nobody's contradicting them when they call me this, right? And the same goes for crime. Your immediate social network has labeled you something, and if that label persists for long enough, then perhaps you adapt it upon yourself. This is the system of informal labeling. Formal labeling occurs when the system does it for you. This is most frequently done through a conviction, right? Think about the absolute most stigmatizing label that is currently available within the criminal justice system: registered sex offender. This is a really hard label to shake, and it is a formal one that is given to you by the courts after you're found guilty of committing a sex crime. But once again, this is something that for many becomes your only identity. It doesn't matter the circumstances of the offense. It doesn't matter that you've done many other great things in your life. This now becomes your master status for anybody else who knows you. When the master status is in place, it has the potential to be the primary form of identification for the individual. If enough people think that I'm a sex offender, then I must be a sex offender, and I might as well prove them right by committing another sexual offense. Labeling theory is not about providing an explanation for why people commit crime or for why they don't. Labeling theory is about providing an explanation for recidivism. Primary deviance has already occurred. Informal and formal labels typically come after the commission of delinquent or criminal behavior. When an individual accepts the master status, now the worry becomes, how do we stop the inevitable recidivistic behaviors? Once the label has been placed, either informally or formally, now we have to wait to see if secondary deviance will occur. Reintegrative shaming theory talks about the importance of eliminating labels altogether and instead vilifying the behavior only. Braithwaite's extension of labeling theory takes into account the societal need for pointing fingers. This person is guilty of X and needs to be made an example of. Instead, Braithwaite takes more of a condemn the sin, not the sinner type of approach. He states that in many tribal cultures, offenders are shamed only for their actions, and then eventually this person works to repair the broken bonds that have been severed between them and the rest of the group. This is called reintegrative shaming. The offender is punished and shamed for his or her actions, and then is welcomed back into the fold and is not permanently ostracized for a single event or a single behavior. Disintegrative shaming is the exact opposite. The community shaming of the individual does not end, and it continues into the long term. The offender feels like an outsider and is never welcomed back into the group. He lives on the fringes. He might be able to see the collective even moving on without him. So he attempts to lead his own life, but the risk of reoffending is so high due to the ostracization, that eventually it happens. If I'm being treated as an outsider, I'll be an outsider and I'll give them what they want. Disintegrative shaming is so similar to labeling theory in this regard. When attempts are made to keep me out, I'm going to stay out. However, through the reintegrative shaming process, the offender has the chance to make things right again. This is called restorative justice. I'm working with the victim, the victim's family, and with the rest of the collective to repair what I have broken. Reintegrative shaming and restorative justice principles are at the root of many faith-based programs, and they help to serve as kind of like halfway house programs for reentering offenders. Akers, Sellers, and Jennings go into faith-based initiatives in great detail within their textbook in this chapter. But really what these theories suggest is that there is really only one outcome when it comes to labeling. Labeling is often permanent and stigmatizing in nature. Offenders are often never seen as anything other than their label, and eventually many give up fighting the identity and formally adapt it. Others fight the master status permanently and tirelessly, but for many in society, they're fighting a losing battle. Reintegrative shaming teaches us that forgiveness needs to be there. This is often a very difficult thing to ask of victims and their loved ones, but in order for us to have a restorative environment, that forgiveness needs to occur. If you think of how many millions of people have criminal records in this country, it's an inevitability that forgiveness must occur at some point if we're going to offer all these people a second chance of living a productive and crime-free lifestyle. We have to restore those relationships and bring these individuals back into the fold, or we're helping the crime situation get worse from our own actions. Next week, we're going to start looking at neighborhood structures, and we're seeing what role they're going to play in our criminal propensities. With social disorganization theories, there is a macro structural theory at play that helps to explain group-level behaviors based on the environment in which people live their lives. Meet me back here next time when we jump right into that topic. Thanks for your attention today, everyone. See, I told you it was going to be a little short lecture today, and I was not wrong. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you next week. Bye!